Hello, this is a personal response to silviahannahk, who left me a comment just now. Not a long time viewer of my channel, she's been around for a while, so I thought I'd do a little response for her. She was saying to me she didn't understand that there was so much bad language and bad stuff in the Bible, in the Torah, and generally in holy books. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, that's actually a good point. There is tons of bad stuff in there. There's loads of cursing, there's loads of murder, and there's raping, there's all kinds of stuff in there. But I think the thing you got to remember is, before there was like official courts and documentation and the internet, you know, back in the Dark Ages, there wasn't any of this stuff. There was basically like judges that the king employed, and there was the holy books, and the holy books recorded what happened to the people so that they can look back and learn from it. That's the thing you've got to remember. So when there's all this bad stuff happening in the Bible, the Torah, even the Quran, when they're talking about killing, well, not so much the Quran, but in the Bible and the Torah, when they're recording fights and killing, murder, rapes, this kind of things, they're not doing it, it's not like a Hollywood movie, they're not doing it to shock you, it's not entertainment footage, you know. The reason it's in there is because before they actually recorded it, they didn't know how to deal with it, right? So they didn't know, what do you do with a murderer? What do you do with someone who's been raped? What do you do with a rapist? How does this stuff happen, and what's the best way to deal with it? They didn't know any of this stuff, right? So the judges and the scribes who worked for the king, or you know, whoever was like the leader of the country, would generally write these things down, and some bright spark thought, hang on a minute, we can learn from this stuff if we write it all down, and then we write down the best solutions that we have at the moment. People can read this to their children and to themselves, and they can learn. Here is bad things that happen, these are the reasons why it's bad, so they describe it happening. That's why it's in there, you know, so you have it described what a rape, what a murder, what thieving is, what lying is, what all the sins are, you know, sodomy, the rest of it's all in there described. But then they answer it. So they describe the thing, they say, this is bad, don't do this, this is how it happened, these are the people involved. And then they go on to say, these are the lessons, if you like, these are the things we learnt from those things happening. And we were so impressed with the wisdom we picked up from analysing those things happening, that we wrote them down in a book, and we decided this is going to become the law. This is what we're going to do in future, and we're going to teach it to our kids. And hopefully over time we can improve it and learn to be better people. That is how these holy books came around. It wasn't a case of, oh, this is interesting, we're going to watch a load of rapes and murders, then we're going to write some fictional novels about it. Although it might seem like that, it was just the knowledge and the wisdom of the people at the time. They were new to a society, they were new to having a large populated culture with, you know, official policing, if you like, and judges and a leader, and rights were starting to develop at this time. And so that's how they came about to have these huge texts, like the Talmud's full of some terrible stuff in there, some awful stuff in there. But the reason they record it is not just to look at it and go, oh, that's cool, rapes and murders. It's because they had a panel of judges discuss these things in detail, and the judges were arguing with each other to say, how is the best, you know, how is it best to deal with these things? What do we do with a murderer? Do we kill him? Do we put him in prison? Should we put him back in school to learn about how, you know, you should live? What do we do with a rape victim? Do we, you know, just leave them alone, or do we try and talk them into being happy again? Do we let them live next door to each other? Because you've got to remember, before this happened, generally what happened when someone was raped was it was someone who was a wife of someone else, and then they would leave the house, you know, they'd go to town or something, and someone else would be flirting with them to try and take them as a wife, and they'd be like, no, 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 and that person would be offended, and then because it was the Dark Ages, they didn't know that was particularly that bad, they thought it was okay, so he would try to have sex with a woman to make her his wife, in his ignorance and stupidity, and then she would report this to the judges, and that guy would be hauled in front of the court, and they would discuss it. So that's how those discussions came about, and that's how they developed the answer. And that's how the Talmud, the Torah, the Gospels even has elements of that. That's why they did it. It was so they could learn and improve, and so they could punish people in the correct way, because they became aware just killing anyone who does something wrong is bad. You can't just kill people because even if someone's a murderer or a rapist, you can't just kill them. And they figured that out and put it in the Bible, the Torah, Not so much in the Quran. The Quran actually says if someone kills you, you just kill them. If someone does a sin against Allah, you just kill them. You know, so the Quran is unique in that it actually doesn't have a penal system. Allah just kills everyone who pisses him off in any kind of way, and that's just how it goes. But by the time Christ was born, and remember, he was a rabbi, he was in a Jewish culture, he was a Jewish man and a rabbi. His background was the Torah and the Talmud, and the reason he rebelled against the Jewish religion and created Christianity was because he was saying, right, you've done well so far, guys, but you've got caught up in the little details and you've lost your way. And he came up with a better way of doing things, and that's how the Gospels were written. It was his life, his lessons, and the things that he brought to humanity, a much more modern view about punishment, crime, and forgiveness and recovery. And that's why all those things are in those books. So in conclusion, oh yeah, and you said, oh, thanks for hurting yourself reading these books. I absolutely love reading these books, although it does, I'm not going to lie to you, it does generate some negative emotions when you're reading about these horrific things, and then you're reading about horrific results that people made mistakes or whatever, especially in the Quran. It does generate bad emotions, but I feel like you need to experience those emotions to really understand what these people were going through, and to pull the wisdom out of that book, and to actually know in your heart that that's true, or to learn the lesson from it. You need to go through that yourself, and rather than being murdered or raped personally, you can just read about it, and then you can take that moral out and learn it, and you can improve as a person from knowing that thing. And that's what these holy books are for. They're not there to put fear in. Well, the Quran is. They're not supposed to be there to put the fear of God into you and say these are the things that are going to happen to you. They're there as an encyclopedia of crime, punishment, forgiveness, and progression through your life, so that you, even if you don't have anyone in your life that's a good example to you, you don't have a way to learn these things, that book on its own, if you read it, will teach you about goodness, how to conduct yourself in life, and how to deal with these things if you're unfortunate and they do happen to you. You know, how to avoid them if you are driven in that way. So in conclusion, that's why these things have horrible, you know, these books have horrible things in them. It's not to shock you, it's not to fear you, it's not to put you off. Although it is difficult to read at times, it's to enrich you with the wisdom of ages and the knowledge of God, so that you could be better in your life. You know, whether it be good things or bad things that happen to you, you can deal with those things and you can be better in future. And that's the end of this video. So thanks for the question. I actually really enjoyed answering that one. So anyway, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Really though, me telling you isn't quite going to give you that wisdom. You just need to read the Bible for yourself, and then you'll pick up the wisdom in your own time. Anyway, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed that. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.